Hello. Twitch? Hello, please? Okay, Twitch and YouTube. Okay, cool. Hello. Ew. Ew. Okay. So I think I left off, when was it? I think yesterday, with working on the noodle caves. Couldn't quite get those done before I had to end the stream, but have been working on them since, and I got a pretty good start on them. So I think I'm done with procedural caves for now. I'd say that's pretty noodly, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you agree? I think we have noodles. I think we have noodles. So I think I'm going to be done with the caves now. I had to do some, it was a lot of tinkering, really. A lot of tinkering. I just had to change a bunch of noise settings and stuff. Had to come up with a new little noodle cave. Little lerp-de-derp algorithm here. And we got it. And it's good enough for now. I'll definitely tweak it in the future and add some more stuff. And one of the things I want to do is add like a height bias to where it the caves aren't just like directly underneath the ground everywhere. And then maybe different zones can have different height biases assigned to them. So, you know, some zones can be very cavey and have a lot of caves right next to the surface. And other ones, like, you know, if it's a plains biome, maybe there's not so many caves underneath it and stuff like that. And so I have a missing chunk. Ignore that. And the cool thing, the nav mesh is generating quite well. Like this is completely walkable cave right here. Boom. A little messed up there, but you get the point. So yeah, caves are a go. Caves are a go, and it's nav mesh. So next steps for me to like actually get the world living and doing things are PCG, and I'm gonna start writing stuff down because I gotta kind of pontificate upon a new system for PCG. I think I'm gonna leave that up in the background just because it's pretty. Just because it's pretty. Okay, so what I need to work on next, give me some new space up here. I just keep adding to this doc, and it's just like 54 pages long, and I'm just going to stick with that. Organization is for cowards. Okay, so I think I need to figure out a new way to spawn PCG. And you know what? While we're at it, let's go ahead and spawn it. We're muted. Ignore that. I think I broke this on accident. Terrain? This is terrain. What's I don't have which biome is rendered here. That would be helpful. That would be helpful. I wanted to just look at some of this. Show me the grid. What grid is this? -1, -1. Okay, that's what we're gonna look at. What is your data? What is your data? Inputs, I've totally forgotten how all this works. Surface. I'm getting no points from this, which just kind of makes me think that it's not working. What the meadow graph here? Terrain. Also terrain. I think maybe the... Yeah, I guess I can't really see the bounding shape, can I? Maybe we can assume that the biome just isn't rendered. I don't know though. Regardless of the fact, I've been thinking that now that I have my kind of terrain in a quite good place, I think I have to put it aside for a bit to focus on the more important things. Even though I want to just keep going. Oh, I was watching this video by that Sean Murray did at GDC. He's the No Man's Sky guy, and one of his coworkers did another one, and it made me want to go deeper on this. But I have to put it aside for now because it's good enough. Aside from that missing chunk, and I need to actually get this world with some liveliness in it. I need to get some NPCs going. I need to spawn things like that, and to do that, I need to get a handle on PCG and also the nav mesh. I need to work on serializing the nav mesh and ensuring that when a chunk gets cleaned up or disappears from the distance or whatever, that the nav mesh stays in memory. We're just going to save the entire fucking nav mesh, and that's just how it's going to work. And we're going to just see how that goes. I'd rather not have to write my own nav mesh, because that seems quite complicated, although I'm sure with the, you know, voxel-like terrain that I have going on right now, there probably is a more efficient nav mesh I could use, and more efficient pathfinding, but that's incredibly complicated, and I'm not 100% sure on how the Unreal Engine nav mesh works. I just know that it's like a detour nav mesh, a recast detour nav mesh. So I'd rather not. I will kick that can as far as I can down the road. Now, one of the things that's not so complicated for me is PCG. And I was thinking about how these chunks spawn, and I'm like, okay, I need to spawn PCG stuff before the nav mesh renders, because it's going to need to re-render anyway when I start spawning stuff with collision in. And so I need to make sure that gets done first. I was like, well, here's it's a hierarchical partitioned PCG component, and it's like this whole biome graph, which like is so goddamn complicated. Like, holy shit, it's complicated. And I had to kind of shoehorn in my own stuff in here, and I'm just kind of thinking like, it would be nice if I could just generate I could like change the PCG settings, like the grid size essentially, to make it just line up with my terrain chunks, such that I could kind of control them spawning with the and I was like thinking, wait, I kind of already had that actually. I kind of had that. One of the first things I tried with PCG was actually putting a PCG component on every terrain chunk, and then just having it render within the terrain chunk's bounds. And it was when I was looking up like biome stuff that I found the PCG biome, like the built-in plugin. in Unreal Engine. I was like, oh great, I'll just use that. But now that I kind of actually know what I'm doing a lot more, that had to have been like a year ago that I did that, at least, maybe more. But now that I kind of know what I'm doing with both PCG and procedural generation, I feel a lot more confident now. So I think I actually want to go back to what I had before, which was an individual PCG component on each terrain chunk. And I have here, there's the terrain chunk size, right? And this is going to help me also for spawning things underground, right? Because like the PCG, it's all set up based off of collision data. And so what I have going now with the PCG Biome plugin is like, you know, I generate chunks in a radius around the player, and a little bit smaller radius than that is the PCG generation. And then I just kind of let the nav mesh bounds volume is over this entire world that we're looking at here. So it's a absolutely massive nav mesh. And the nav mesh just kind of updates it as it needs to at runtime. And I was just kind of thinking, like, how are these three systems going to combine together? And yeah, I think I just want to do a PCG biome, or not a PCG biome, but a PCG component on each terrain chunk. Because then, like, I'm not going to be like over generating at all, and I don't have to. I can, you know, they can be generated almost in lockstep. You could think of it as, but more so just at the same resolution. When and where it's needed, rather than having to do one radius slightly bigger, so you know there's no collision misses when the PCG stuff runs. And that was already going to be an issue because I need actors to, or not actors, but entities to query the world, and the, you know, they need information on what PCG spawns. So and where I spawn PCG stuff is going to be based off of, you guessed it, my terrain chunks. So that all needs to happen whether or not it's rendered. And so I think one of the best ways to do that, well, maybe let's think about that. It definitely needs to be rendered. I need to like generate the PCG stuff within the same bounds as a terrain chunk. But if I'm not always going to have the chunks, maybe I'll always have the actors. And what I can do is I can write my own this node to pass into the surface sampler. I can create a surface based off of my basically the vertex data, I think, or rather I should probably start storing voxel data if I'm going down this route, right? Right now there's actually no voxels, right? I'm not storing any data other than data used to generate the thing, which is just kind of tossed away anyway. So I should probably start storing some voxel data such that I can sample it with PCG, whether or not the component or the chunk actually has collision or not, because that's what PCG is kind of entirely set up off of now. So next things, why am I like indented? Thank you. Next things, I just love me some bullet pointed lists. Next things, PCG biome. I'll just call it a rewrite. I'm not going to rewrite. I'm going to do it completely differently, I think. Nav mesh, serialization, serializing, and I'm just gonna put cleanup because or lack thereof, but that's gonna come next after I figure out the biome stuff. And then after that, spawn NPCs. Such that they can actually do things in the world. And I've already had that working at one point. Like, you can go back in a stream like a year ago and I had NPCs spawning, but I have not done this in my procedural world since I've written the ECS system, the entity system. So it's going to be a bit different now. And hopefully we'll get that all set up such that the whole world can be running. But that'll definitely be probably, I'm just gonna guess, a couple I'm just gonna guess. Okay, so for the PCG biome rewrite, PCG component on terrain chunk actor. Generates within the chunk bounds. I'll say the 3D chunk bounds. I need a chunk sampler, chunk surface sampler node. Voxel data, potentially. Because I will need to tell... I will need to tell PCG if we're underground or not. And that's going to be a complicated question to answer. Put that on a new line. And, you know, maybe I'll need to do a little bit more rain generation techniques for that. I said 2D, this needs to be 3D. And so this is just going to kind of be a system rewrite. This is going to be just kind of like how PCG runs. Well, this is going to be like how PCG generates points. And while I'm refactoring this, I think what I can do is so we got bounds, we're going to need biome, like what things can spawn there, what assets to use, what configuration, and then some additional information, I suppose. Some better surface sampling, collision, essentially, better than collision, because it's not going to be actual collision. So biome rewrite, and I think, you know, I have, this map is literally a chunk biome map, and I like retrofitted this to work with like, or rather I retrofitted the PCG biome core to work with this and generate the biome cells and stuff that way. And like, thinking about it now, I feel like it's gonna be a hell of a lot easier to just do it on my own. Biome rewrite. So, and that's, I have the world map chunk biome, like which biome each chunk is, but then I also have the zones, the zone border spline. And so I can literally use that as like a more better bound, right? So that even though I'm generating the PCG graph to the bounds of my chunks, I can use these splines to make sure that we don't overlap, or you know, maybe we have a little bit of overlap, right? A little bit of blending in a way that's not just completely square, like it, because right now I'm only rendering one biome right now, but if we had two next to each other, you'd see just straight lines that they would line up with the chunks, essentially, where the biomes would end, and it looked really bad. Even though there was a little bit of blending happening, it was still blending in straight lines. So, using the zone border splines, I can have a chunk use two different graphs. So, it's essentially going to be get graph from world map chunk biome, and each biome already has like a graph assigned to it. I already have that. RNG baby. And then I'll say run graphs within zone border spline, and so you could have potentially multiple of these. And then just make sure that the, you know, you'd have to intersect basically the zone border spline with the bounds of the chunk, and then that's where you get like where to generate each one. And so that's going to be like a lot easier than whatever the hell this is. I did like clicking through all these subgraphs is just gnarly, man. It's absolutely gnarly. And maybe I'll take some things from this Like, I know I want to kind of have subzones as well at some point. I don't just want an entire zone to be the same, you know, same terrain noise, same biome noise all throughout. I want there to be a, you know, some changes within a zone. And I think what's, because I was watching, you know, I watched on stream the other day the tech talk by the Minecraft guy on the world generation, the new world generation after the caves update. And watching that and thinking about it and seeing how they did that, along with earlier today I was watching the No Man's Sky GDC Sean Murray talk and seeing, like, he called it like Uber noise, and like how they just layered all these noises on top of each other and let the noises like dictate essentially everything about what got generated. And I think how I want to differentiate myself from that is kind of, I've definitely worked my way towards some of the techniques that they were using just before watching those videos, and I've learned a lot about what they do. Like these noodle caves came from that. Well, sort of. I had to look up a lot about it to figure out how it was done, but I think what I want to do to differentiate myself is that, like, like the thing that PCG or procedural terrain always has me feeling is it's a little bit hollow, it's a little bit shallow, even though it's like really high fidelity. Even watching, you know, people play No Man's Sky, which is, you know, at this point the pinnacle of procedural generation, I would say, and amazing what they can do, amazing. But it's still, to me, a little hollow, and that's no knock on their game. It's a great game. But it's because there's no stories being told there. There's no meaning to it, really. It's incredibly fun to explore, and, you know, they have some aliens running around and stuff, but there's no stories being told within these worlds. And that's what I really hope to do with what I have going on here. And I think I'm actually set up pretty well to do that. And I think I'm starting to connect the dots on how I want that to happen. And I have these zones. I want to be able to tell a somewhat isolated story in each zone that maybe connects a little bit to a neighboring zone, you know. And I always harken back to you got a World of Warcraft interactive map. No, give me like I don't want that one. Give me like a good one. It's like too realistic, right? I want one where I can click into the zones. Oh my god, I gotta choose it from menus? Oh my god. Is there really not like a clickable? I mean, I guess this is maybe the best I got here. Cool. My god. Yeah, I wanna not put quests on there. NPCs. I clicked clear. How do I use this map, man? Oh, there's so much on here. I wanted one with the zones on it that I could click through. Dude, I could just boot up the game, I suppose. Is it really not? I figured there would be a website that you could just click through. Because I want to be able to click into the zones and out of the zones and, like, do the different areas. All these interactive maps are just like the exported topology. Oh, here we go. Nice. Okay, here we go. Now we're talking. Okay, so here we have a WoW map. Those other tabs. Nice. Okay, and so even though we're talking like generic MMO fetch quest type stories here, you know, so it's not like the super highest fidelity story being told in each one of these things. Although if you read the quest text, and the AI voiceover add-on actually does a great job of breathing some new life into this old game. They're actually not bad. The gameplay behind them, you know, could be better. But each one of these zones like actually tells us a little bit of a story, and like they have these little like sub areas. It's like zone, I'll call it zones and areas, right? So this is like a zone. This is Ashenvale, level 15 to 30. Now we got Splinter Tree Post right here, and you can like click on it. Oh, you can like click into the, the little buildings here. And so this is like the horde encampment here. And there's a little tiny one out here on the Zoram Strand, right? And here's Astronar. This is like the Night Elf area. There's a little Night Elf area here as well, and like a little tiny one up here too. And so I really like how there's all these like points of interest. And, you know, Minecraft and No Man's Sky, they have points of interest as well. There's no difference there, but the difference I want to try and make is like actually grounding it in the world and having it matter. And hopefully, like with the LLM, I'll actually be able to tell where those things are. And so I think what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to do another procedural noise pass over this. Maybe it's just going to be, I think it's just going to be little blobs. For each zone, I'm just going to have, I think each zone would have its own, like, I'll say potentially 2 different noises. One for like the, you know, maybe it's like 3 different biomes in there. You know, like a little forest area, a little plains area, you know, little mountain area, something like that. And then I'll do another pass over it to kind of put these points of interest in there. And I think I'll do it based on, like, I think I actually need to build out, like, the volume. I need to, like, pre-generate what goes there almost, in a way. You know, like, put a city here, or put another city there. And so, and kind of, I need to store that data. Like that's the data I want to store. Names of the thing, you know, and have it be grounded in what's around it. And so I'm kind of creating, you know, if a city spawns in the mountains, you know, make it a mining town or something, you know, make it have fucking a dragon sitting on top of one of the mountains that's like harassing the village or something, you know, and generate things in regards to the terrain. And I think I have to pick, like, when I say pick, I mean like procedurally pick what goes in each place so I can tell a grounded story, and it's not just some like RNG story, if that makes sense. It makes sense in my head what I want to do. And I think I need to be able to tell what I'm placing within these zones in order to influence, you know, the LLM properly for these quests, and influence the, not just for the quest, but just like for like NPC, just like banter and dialogue and stuff, you know? So I need to know like what is actually, what kind, I can't just be putting noise willy-nilly here to generate things, because I actually need like the area. Because like, I'm doing a terrible job explaining this, because it probably just sounds like what I'm saying can just be done like how, you know, Minecraft or No Man's Sky does it. But like, Pixel Shake, what's up, my dude? Welcome in. We're talking about how to tell stories through procedural generation. At least that's what I'm trying to explain. I feel like I'm failing a bit, but they just have like, they have just all these different values that go into a noise function, and it outputs terrain, and or outputs, dude, you know, props to spawn. Minecraft and No Man's Sky are super poor examples. You could do it so much better. Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say. Like, that's how I'm, I just started talking probably right before you showed up, but like, I was trying to say, like, I'm going to do my procedural generation a little bit differently, such that I can tell solid stories, because I was saying, like, when I walk through something like No Man's Sky or even Valheim or Minecraft, super fun to explore, super fun to interact with the worlds, all great games in their own rights, but I still feel like the procedural generation is a bit hollow, and it's because it's not actually, it doesn't actually mean anything to anything in it, right? Other than just like some raw behaviors at the most, right? There's no actual stories being told based off of the terrain that's there, based off of the things that have procedurally been spawned on top of the terrain, right? And so that's why we're looking at a map of like WoW, because this is kind of what I wanted to model my zones off of. I want to tell a kind of a defined story in each zone, and most of these are just like separated by mountains, just like what I got. And I like, this is a swamp, right? This should tell swampy stories. You should be making some frog leg soup up in here. So it's just phases of generation, right? And also you need to define your desired level of abstraction. Yeah, and so like what I was saying, like as you showed up, was like No Man's Sky and Minecraft, they both have they just have like a noise function, and then they just have like inputs and outputs from generators and stuff. And I was saying that, like, rather than doing something like that, I definitely have that already, right? I have a noise function, and it gets, I have inputs and outputs to different noise functions. But I need to actually know what's being placed in the world and what it is and what things are around it and stuff like that. Like, I can't just be having a series of values define, where a tree spawns, right? I need to define the area of a forest and then spawn trees in there. And then that way, if I put a city in the forest, I know it's a city that needs to reflect that. And so do its citizens and stuff like that. Why not place based on terrain rather than terrain based on place? So if I understand what you're saying properly, it's kind of just like attacking the problem at two different directions, right? So like in the one direction, if you have just, and that's the Minecraft or Valheim or like No Man's Sky version, is like you have this noise function. It generates like terrain, forests, mountains, but then how do you figure out when you're trying to tell a story that the character is in a mountainous region? When you're spawning a town, how do you tell that it is a town on the edge of a mountainous region and there's a forest region right next to it, right? Like, you would have to like really query the landscape or the noise functions to figure out what's there. And you'd almost have to search and to come up with the area for that. Like, that would be difficult. That would be a more complicated problem in my eyes. Are you working only with map generation? I don't know what you mean by only. I am working with procedural map generation and terrain generation. Well, when you have the terrain, you can weight values of areas. Yeah, I mean, like, I understand how I could spawn, random things on terrain and have specific things only spawn in specific types of terrain. That would be how, like, Minecraft and Valheim and No Man's Sky do it. But if I were to kind of do it the opposite way, where I'm predefining what spawns in a location, and I'm defining the area, or almost like a volume or a bounds that it spawns in, then I can reference that a lot easier after everything generates around it. It's almost like I'm using what all those other games do as a backdrop to fill in the gaps in between these, I want to say hand-picked, but it's still going to be procedurally generated, but I guess just more definitively placed points of interest. I'm almost doing the process backwards from what they do it. Like if you're working on things like game mechanics. Not today. I'm not working on game mechanics today. I do have some game mechanics in the game. Some abilities, some healing, some shitty textures that aren't loading properly. I have an ECS system for entities, mass, not using mass, but I built my own ECS system. And then I have some building and stuff as well that I don't think works on this terrain. But we have a building system as well. And some tree chopping. So not super deep into gameplay stuff yet, but we got some base systems built out there. Am I using gas? Yes, I am, but I think I'm going to end up ditching it, unfortunately. It's not performant enough for what I need. Yeah, you need to do multiple validations of terrain you have. I don't think it's more complicated because, for instance, if you were to do a biome check, elevation, consistency, distance from fresh water, it's like a chicken or the... Yeah, I mean, like, I get what you're saying, and it's like, yeah, it's backwards, right? And seeing, like, the way they generate it based off of, you know, these like, tables and stuff of, like, what can potentially spawn in a location, and, like, you know... Like, let's say, I'll throw a hypothetical example at you. Let me find a good zone. Let me find a good zone here. Okay, here may be a good example. Okay, so you have, look at these well-defined areas here. This is almost how I'm picturing it in my head, actually. This is a good example. So this is Silithus, desert area. The kind of story behind this is that we have the Gates of Anchorage, ancient city that the Silithid live in. I don't know the specific lore. But we have Cenarian Hold. Those are like the Tauren, like, nature lover type, Tauren and Night Elf nature lover people, and they're kind of like fighting against all these bugs that are kind of coming out of this Anchorage. And then we also have like the Bronzebeard kind of stuff, like it's like kind of archaeology related type things. And then of course we have a Horde and Alliance, you know, faction kind of thing. And so let's say these were procedurally placed, right? We have a desert. Okay, let's say we can spawn bug cave. Like this is like a massive ditch of bug. This is Bug City, okay? And there are caves and tunnels throughout here. And then we have Cenarian Hole. It's a city, right? So with what you're saying, Pixel Shake, like how would you define the area here such that like it essentially, I almost need it to be like encoded. I need to know like what point of interest, what kind of point of interest it is, and what area it's spawned in relation to the other things, so that I can tell a story with the LLM, and so that the LLM guy can like give directions and I can say what's in this zone and stuff like that. Like, of course, you could just like, you know, you'd have to basically do it at the noise level, right? You'd have to like come up with that volume or area based off of the noise that's spawning it. And that, to me, if I were to rather generate, you know, an area and then plop it down into the noise, I think I would have a better almost encoding of what is spawned into the world for storytelling. And I feel like I'm doing a terrible job of explaining what I'm thinking of. And so if I wanted to like generate a quest from an LLM about like, you know, fighting, it's like, how would I... Oh, here's a cave, right? There's a cave right there. How would I tell the LLM like where these two points of interest are in relation to each other? Of course, you could just like, you know, grab a point from each of them if you had that and like pick a direction. But like, I want to be able to give this a name in the world and an area in the world, such that when you walk into this area, it says like fucking Silithid Cave A or whatever the name is, right? And when you walk into the bounds of this, it says Cenarian Hold, you know? And so I think by generating the area that it goes in first would be a better way to do that for what I'm trying to get. Trough box collision. So collision is completely out of the question here. This needs to be done without collision. So at best I could do some sort of voxel algorithm to figure it out. But if I just knew what was going to be spawned, you know, as the algorithm is generating it, you know, I could give that a name. I could maintain that area. I mean, I guess I'm more so just talking about an order of operations for the world gen. I think you maintain a super low resolution version of the world and then validate from that and use that data to break through. So the LLM always works off the super. I don't think that's necessary, if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly. We're talking very very abstract here, I think. But like I almost want like a volume object in the in the world to almost visualize, you know, because I want to know when the player walks in here, so that I can tell the player where they're at, right? Like imagine yourself in either like a Minecraft. Imagine yourself in everyone's played Minecraft, right? Imagine, you know, there's a villager town, and the villager town has a name. You know, let's just say it's in the forest. It's in a forest biome. It's in a mountainous forest biome. You know, and let's pick a name from here. Paleheart Glades. That's what we're going to call the city. Paleheart Glades. That is one of the zone names here. And let's say there happens to be a cave right next to that. What do you think an LLM would come up with if I said, hey, generate a quest for a villager living in what did I just call it? I forgot what I called it already. Paleheart Glades. Nearest points of interest are a cave. You know, what is that cave name? You know, oh, the Giant's Lair, you know, calls it, you know, and then I can spawn a giant in there. And, you know, I can spawn that giant in there based off the LLM's response, because I know, one, where the cave is in relation to, I know that it's near enough to the town or city or whatever that it can influence the quests. And two, I know where I can spawn things, and I can name it, like when the player walks in there. Like imagine that in Minecraft. Like imagine just walking into a city, Paleheart Glades, you know, and you talk to a villager, and they're like, oh, there's a cave north of here, and a giant lives there, and he's been messing with our crops or something. You know, he's been stealing our sheep. What about use tags? Well, I guess we're not talking like, I'm not talking at the level of like, what Unreal Engine technology should I use to represent this? I'm just talking about like abstract level. How does the world noise gen work? And that's a massive sidetrack from what I was supposed to be working on, which was coming up with the PCG system. So I'm gonna rewrite this PCG biome stuff for my own solution. But yeah, I guess the best way to put it is more so like an order of operations for the world generation, such that it makes storytelling easier. Because like I know how I would say something like, you know, I have can I put the map away? Oh, I'm already. Put the map away, please. Thank you. Okay. So I know how to say something like I have two different sets of noise for these caves. You know, I got the noodle caves and then I got the cheese caves. I know how I would say, you know, anywhere this cheese caves carves out, you know, that is a cheese caves noise area. That is a cave. I know how to say that. And I know how to say this is a noodle cave. But how would I make, you know, distinct names and points of interest from that? That's kind of another way to explain the difference in how I plan to do things. I mean, yeah, and you could, you know, you could have an algorithm that, you know, queries the voxels in a chunk and kind of builds out, you know, the volumes and the areas for each of those. But that's actually like time complexity wise, that's an awful that's an awful solution. Like that's a at the very least n squared, right? Johnny B, cave generator. Yeah, look at it. Look at our noodles. Someone go get Boom. Tell her I've got noodles. I know she wants the spaghetti here. But yeah, we have caves. And what's actually cool is that the nav mesh, like some of these are completely nav walkable. And so I did a lot of work to like make them. This is just the default Unreal Engine nav mesh. So you can actually walk these. And an NPC could walk through these caves, you know. And it would also be nice to like be able to tell NPCs like to give them knowledge about the world as to like where things spawn and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, you need to go find some mushrooms. Okay, well, go find the nearest cave and search in there, you know. And without some sort of encoding for where these different points of interest are, it's going to be kind of hard to do that. It's doable, but it would be the time complexity of the algorithm to do that is not very good. It's not very performant. So I think by doing it backwards, I can have an easier time telling stories. Like in WoW. Well, the right order is the order of real life, right? I don't think so. Not for what I'm saying. Basic land C modified based on. I mean, yeah, when you're just talking about raw RNG, yeah, that's a perfectly good way to do it. But it's all about what are you optimizing for? And I think in your answer, you're optimizing for like the generation process itself. And I think what you would get a world very similar to like what you would see in Minecraft or No Man's Sky or Valheim or something. And then the question becomes, how do you tell stories within that world, right? When everything's random and you don't know where everything is, you can write a very expensive algorithm to go query the world, but you have to keep in mind that's going to be, you need to be doing that all the time. So it'd be better if you encoded the data in such a way and changed the generation process in such a way that you had information on where and what was spawned in the world without having to query the world, right? You can just, it's more of a constant time operation. Than a iterate over the voxels in a world and build out, you know, all this stuff. And I know how like No Man's Sky, how they generate points of interest or buildings is like they have a lower, they kind of just have like an in-memory or I'm sure it's just an equation or a grid that they kind of metaphorically lay over the world, and then they spawn like a building and, you know, they pick a random number of grid cells and spawn a building in it, right? And so yeah, you could just save those buildings in an array and stuff like that. What I am saying will still be a procedural world based on C. I am just changing the order of the generation process. And I'm more so using the traditional, you know, put a bunch of numbers into a noise function as a backdrop for points of interest, rather than putting points of interest onto, you know, what a noise function spit out based on, you know, what it spit out. But yeah, that's a side quest for now, because we want to do PCG stuff. Yeah, so we need to change this. So we have these chunks, we have PCG spawning in. The PCG Biome plugin, I mean, the runtime hierarchical partitioned PCG stuff is in a different grid size, and the coordinates aren't even the same as my terrain chunks. So rather than trying to keep using this plugin, I'm going to go back to what I was doing before, which was just having a PCG component on each terrain chunk that generates within the bounds of that terrain chunk. And I have the what biome that chunk is supposed to be, and I have the graph from that biome, and then I have these border splines for where the biomes, or to create a smoother beginning and end to these zones. And I should just be able to use that spline in comparison with the chunk bounds and the potentially multiple graphs from what biome is here on either side of this, potentially on either side of this this mountain, and then just, you know, run both of the graphs for this area for each of the respective areas. Reminds me of how Minecraft can do strange looking super impositions of features, like a town in a strange place or a dungeon cleaved by a chasm. Yeah, I mean, that is a side effect of the way that they're doing things, where it's all just a noise function and you're plopping things down on top of what that function spat out. Which I think potentially would be what I could avoid, right? I could avoid weird things, because like I've you know, I played a lot of Minecraft myself. I've seen it where it spawns like a village on like the side of a cliff, honestly, and like half the village is like, you know, 40 meters down off the cliff, and the other half is like on the top of the cliff. And so I think I will be able to avoid situations like that. But that's very far down, very far down the road for me. Yeah, and then I need an efficient way to, and this will be, you know, querying the world or querying the terrain essentially, but without collision. I cannot rely on collision because the chunks aren't always going to be there and rendered. Maybe the actors will always be there. I mean, they'll need to be if I'm going to run a PCG component on each of them. And then similar to how I do it here, where I'm plugging in a world hit ray query to a surface sampler, I think I'll be able to just, I'm going to write my own node here essentially, and I'll probably just have to run the noise algorithm at different LODs. Sometimes the superpositions are fun, granted it's largely about exploration. Yeah, I mean, it can create some pretty wonky scenarios and stuff like that, but like, I guess what I'm trying to go for is getting things grounded into the world in a way that's narrative, you know, and story based. So things kind of have to make sense, right? And like, if, like, let's say something like that were to happen, right? And you didn't account for it, and it was just random, procedural, you know, whatever. Like, how would you tell? Like, how would those villagers react having their like, oh yeah, there's a massive crevice in between the two halves of our village? Like, they wouldn't understand that, right? Unless you were to like query all the voxels of the world and like you essentially have to run it backwards to figure out what got put there, in a way. Whereas if you generate what the town, if you generate it the other way, like you generate, oh, there's going to be a town here, it's going to be in a forest, it's going to be in a zone, like, you know, a blah 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 zone, and that zone is going to be in this section of the world, and that section of the world has this kind of terrain, then you can, it's easier to, I guess in my mind, it's easier to be able to tell an LLM to generate stuff such that the NPCs are actually aware of where the fuck they are in the world and what's going on around them. So yeah, anyway, PCG spawning on things that don't have collision. PCG just runs entirely off of collision pretty much for sampling points and putting those points into the right location. So yeah, I think I'm going to basically have to write my own one of these nodes that outputs a surface data type, surface data, and then the way I would do that, let me start writing this down. yeah, so potentially we'll need to start encoding voxel data. I don't actually have any voxels at the moment. Like, it is voxelized terrain, but I'm not storing any data at all. So potentially storing some data there about what surface is represented. At the very least, the density, right? Because then I can tell, at the very least, tell what is a empty space voxel and what is a solid space voxel. But for actually getting, like, sampling some points along that surface without collision, I would need to, like, let's say player is on one side of the world and I need to come up with points on the other side of the world. I'm not going to generate the entire terrain chunk, but I can at least run the compute shader for that chunk at potentially lower LODs. You know, would I need to run the highest LOD noise? I mean, to get the proper locations of everything, yeah, unless I was going to retroactively, because I'm serializing where all this stuff spawns. I created this whole PCG serialization system, so I'm saving the points that PCG spawns, and I'm saving what has spawned at them, so that I can query that data with NPCs when they need to go find a mushroom. But the NPC is not actually rendered, the chunk isn't actually rendered, PCG is not actually running. So yeah, I would think I would run terrain shaders, and this is if it, I guess this is if it hasn't generated yet, because I think I'm gonna serialize these chunks, man. I'm gonna serialize the shit out of these chunks. So run the terrain shaders, and I guess, like, I would have the vertices is what I would have. The vertex buffer is what I would need to query, or you know, that's what I would return. And then maybe I could, like, well, if I have that surface, I'll have to check what its surface data actually is. Can I check that here? Let me go here. No, wrong one, this one. So surface, can I see what that surface data is? No, I can't. Perfect. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, anyways. If not already generated. So I guess I have to make a decision on whether or not the world is going to get woken up when the player moves around, or if it's going to just try and wake up by default. Because the chunks and the noise right now only generates in a radius around the player. That's why we're just seeing this very small section around the player. Like, we're only rendering like this much, right? And the world is massive. Each pixel on here is a terrain chunk. There's a terrain chunk, so this would be this way. So may have to cut down on the size of the world, of course. It's quite large, 128 by 128. I guess whether or not I run the shaders depends on if it's been generated or not. So I'll say read vertices from serialized. And I suppose this will be the I mean, might as well just make it the voxels, right? And the voxels position in the buffer is going to relate to where it is in 3D space, because I have the bounds of the chunk, right? So I'll basically just have a 1D array of whatever my voxel data structure is, which right now would only have a density value. And then how would I... And if that's each vertex of the mesh, I guess I would have to serialize the vertices and the triangles, of course. Unless I wanted to... I guess I could rerun the marching cubes algorithm to build the mesh each time, and then I could avoid serializing the triangle data, which is a lot. It is a big amount of data. Because you have to think it's you have the vertices, right, which is already a large array. But then you need an even larger array for all the triangles, because a triangle is 3 verts. So it could potentially be very, very big. And the vertices array will be a well, I guess no, we could get rid of some. Never mind. So I guess you could just take the verts and then or take the voxelized noise, save the voxelized noise data, but then rerun the marching cubes algorithm. And then that way, at the very least, you don't have to regenerate the noise. But for me right now, the marching cubes algorithm is actually the most expensive part. So we'll have to play around with that and see what we can get away with. Maybe, I know you can just, because I have the terrain is deformable as well, so I'll potentially need to save any changes. Even if I decide to not save, you know, the triangles and stuff. Well, I guess the deforming the terrain could just voxels, but the terrain deformation doesn't happen aligned with the voxels. It happens completely separately from it. So maybe I should just save the vertex buffers, man. Have I gotten noodles? I have noodles. We have noodles. Look at them. Look at those noodles. There we go. They need some work, but it's a good first pass. Like, I kind of hate, like, this is a nice noodle, right? Like, let's walk down this noodle. This is a nice noodle. But I kind of hate these sections, and this is just how the noise works. I hate these, like, big, wide, like, these look like one of those wide-mouthed whales. You know, I kind of hate these sections. And it's just kind of how the noise worked. But some of them are really cool, right? So like this one, completely walkable, right? Completely AI navigable. That's really cool. And you come out the other side. Boom. So yeah, and that's without having to use perlin worms, which is nice because that would be a higher computational complexity. So this is still all in just put it into a noise function, get a density value out, right? They just happen to be very loopy, very circular, so that's why I don't really like them. And then when they split off, they kind of get weird, and I don't really like the look of them. Yeah, I like that area. But they do what they were intended to do, which is connect pockets of cave. Like this one's just like a complete circle. And I'll continue to iterate on that at some later point, but that's good enough for now. I guess I need to think about how I'm going to serialize this stuff, I suppose. And I need to, I do need to know like what the surface is. And I mean, right now, what the surface is just entirely defined by some shitty landscape auto material I made. It's not actually defined by any noise or anything. Your verts are not snapped to a grid, are they? No, they're not. So, yeah, do I save voxel data, or try to? Or do I just save, like, the mesh itself? You know, like the vertex and triangle buffers. And then I would just probably read from the like, I could just save the data, you know, what is at a vertex, you know. And then how would I tell if, like, I could easily tell the difference between the two noises, because that could just be you know, a different number. I could easily tell that, but I guess one thing that I'm worried about being able to tell from just vertex data is like what's above it, right? Like, does this have stuff above. If I don't have collision and I can't do just a simple ray trace, right? You know, being able to say, hey, there's nothing above this point. If you were to raycast straight down, this point would be the point that hits first. Because I would essentially have to, like, make sure that the chunk above me is not... each chunk would have to know what chunk is above it to be able to tell, like, what that vertex is. I mean, if you get it to grid level, you can actually store your triangles in a single byte, I think. I mean, I think I would just... If I could just store it voxel by voxel, then I think I would probably just serialize the voxels, and then I would let marching cubes figure out the triangles each time. I don't even think I would need to store the triangles. Look at this little tiny bridge thing. Let's look at a different seed, just for fun. I want to go back to that mountain seed I was looking at the other day. What was it, 17, I think, maybe? I don't know what I don't know. Have I seen this one with the noodle caves? We'll see what this one... This is like a really cool terrain topology here. There we go. Yeah, I don't like the way some of this noise cuts into the... Like, that's just a weird cave entrance. Well, these two pockets are connected together. That's cool. I feel like I should also, like, look how circular some of this is. Like, I kind of hate that. Yeah, it's super circular. Oh, this one's kind of cool. Because you can walk from here. Hang on. A little cave opening here. I suppose you get to a point where you could no longer... You'd have to kind of climb. We'll see if climbing's in the game, and then you get out to here. Are the worms generated from just 2D tech? No, it's all 3D noise. No textures involved at all. The height map is 2D noise, but still no texture. Can't have textures because that creates scene in the terrain, especially with Unreal Engine's built-in noise function. Then there's like this. Oh, that's gotten. Oh, look at this tiny little opening. Oh, this is a cool thing right here, right? You know, you're just walking around. You're like, oh, what's over here? Of course, my shadows suck, so it's kind of hard to see that that's a cave. But imagine you see that nicely. Wow. There could be some water in here, you know, which is what normally was in there. Oh, and there's this nice little ledge going down. Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool. And it's just a big ass cave system. Oh, and there's a little hole up here too. Neat. Anyways, back to thinking about I guess we're thinking about serializing now. Like, how am I going to be able to tell PCG what a point is? Because I do need to know, like, what is in a cave and what is on the surface, I think. I know I could just tell that from the noise, right? And marching cubes be able to tell? I guess I could just pass a data structure to it. Saying like what this... Yeah, I mean marching cubes could help me there. And I guess I wouldn't need to... And I could know if it was underground or not. Yeah. I think I could know whether or not it was underground. I guess the parts that I'm worried about zone, like where the noise sticks through, where the 3D noise kind of sticks through the height map. Like, would I want, like, if I were spawning trees and stuff, would I want to, like, not spawn trees there or grass there, and that's just kind of like its own thing, and that would have, like, the same stuff spawned in there as what's in here? Because I very easily could tell what noise, like, each point came from, each vertex. And then just use that to tell PCG what can spawn there. But I'm kind of wondering, like, if I just wanted to, like, if I just want to spawn trees on anything that doesn't have an overhang, I wouldn't be able to do that with that kind of a system, because I wouldn't be able to tell that, unless I would have to do something special to tell that, like, even though this is like cave noise, basically, that it's still on the surface and not underground. And it would be weird to, like, spawn what I would, you know, if I just treat it as any vertex made by cave noise as underground. Like, I couldn't just treat that as underground, you know? I also wanted to get to a point where I had a height bias on the 3D noise and have some of that 3D noise stick out of the height map, which would be, you know, figuring out at that point is even harder, because I can't anywhere that is a height map vert I know is on the surface and there's nothing above it. If I have 3D noise, you know, stick out of it and add to it rather than just subtract from it, which is something I wanted to do, I would no longer be able to rely on that assumption. But I mean, like, let's say I go with, like, the world wakes up. If the world wakes up, because, like, those who don't know, I'm planning on having the world on at all times, or at least as much as possible, because I want to fully simulate, like, colonies and stuff. And that's why I want to keep the nav mesh around. Like, even when these despawn, I want the nav mesh around, so therefore I can move around, I can do pathfinding and stuff, and move around entities in memory. Kind of lerp them along the path and stuff, you know? So if I'm relying on the world to kind of wake up after the first time it gets spawned, then maybe I can just rely on collision. Maybe I can. But I guess I would want that to be a pretty wide radius around the player. I guess that's the problem, right? Because I need that to happen far enough away from the player so that things can start happening. I'm a dumb guy. No, you're not. It's just about filtering it out afterwards, right? So you could plant the seed for the tree and then find out if it can be seen by the sun by doing a bunch of traces from the sun path and then destroy the invalid ones. Well, I mean, doing the traces is the problem, right? I'm trying to decide if I should, you know, I just posited the question, like, if the world wakes up, if I don't want to simulate the world before the player goes there, then I can rely on collision and traces, right? Collision traces. But if I just have all this in memory and there's no collision, then I have to generate everything around it to figure it out, essentially, and come up with some algorithm to do a trace in my own way. Would you not write the traces into PCG? Well, no, I mean, PCG has traces in there, but I'm saying I don't have the collision. Like, what we're looking at now Like, let's say my player is on the other side of the world, completely away from this. Like, I will not have it rendered, and I will not have the collision data to trace against. So I would have to write, you know, my own algorithm for, like, doing a trace, you know, through this noise that I may or may not have, right? I may have to generate the noise, and I don't know, like, I would have to generate all of the Z chunks until I get to what I know is the top, right? So it's and if I go with, like, the world doesn't get turned on until the chunk gets generated, then it gets easier. So maybe I will have to rely on that assumption, because then I can, you know, the collision data just gets ready when it gets ready, and then I can just run the trace after that, you know. And I can figure out what's on the surface level regardless of what the noise is, you know. I guess I'm just thinking about limitations here of either method. I'm thinking of two different methods here. And I wanted to, in my head when I first thought about, like, writing my own, like, surface sampler node for PCG, like, I was like, oh, I won't need to do collision traces at all. I can just, you know, query the height map and return the, you know, I can just return the vertices and it'll be a lot more efficient or something. And I'm kind of just like, maybe I should just rely on collision. Make it easy on myself. I still will need to know, like, what the trace hit, right? I'll need to get some information about that vertex there. But if I already have, like, encoded what each vertex, what type of noise each vertex came from, then, you know, that'll be pretty easy to return. That's neat. There's just this little tunnel. Goes in one side, out the other. I really want to do dwarf mountains, like underground dwarf kingdom mountains. And I think that would be something that could be really cool with what I was talking about earlier, with, like, the order of generating things. Like, if I said there's going to be a mountain in here, right, spawned right here, and there's going to be a dwarf kingdom inside of it, I can say, this is the dwarf mountain. This is the, you know, Iron Forge. This is Khazad-dûm. Barad-dûr. Or no, that's the tower. Never mind. The Lonely Mountain. Whereas if it happened the other way, it'd be kind of hard to say that, like, this is the mountain that the dwarves live in. Moria, exactly. Exactly. So it'd be like, okay, dwarf thing is supposed to spawn here, you know, grab my mountain noise and plop it in this area. And then I can just, you know, if I have that area procedurally generated, I can just say anything in this area is dwarf country. You hear me? Whereas coming up with that area afterwards, I feel like it's a lot harder. Damn, that's sick. I guess that's not completely walkable. Maybe I should get the nav links and stuff going too. Well, once I get stuff spawning. Yeah, that one just drops off. A little steep there too. God, I'm gonna have so many NPCs stuck. Oh god, it's gonna be awful. I have to figure out what to do about that. Neato. Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of just sidetracked tonight. Yeah, I guess I'm coming to the conclusion that I do need to just wait for the world to wake up as it generates. I guess the reason I was against that is because I don't want the NPCs to be stuck. Like, and stuck as in like, you know, you've generated this area we've looked at. Now the player has run to a different area, and there's still NPCs in this area. This area has gotten unloaded, so it's no longer being rendered. And the NPCs now only run around. They can only run around on the area that's already been generated. And like, they can just get to an edge of a chunk and not even know what's on the other side of that. So I find that to be a bit weird. It would be nice to be able to avoid that. And maybe I can treat, once an NPC has been woken up, you know, or spawned into the world, it can act as like a world generator as well, or something. I mean, that would probably be pretty computationally expensive. Performance considerations to be made there. Yeah, I need to decrease the amount of noodle caves. I feel like that's too many. Maybe increase cheese caves a little bit more, decrease noodle caves. Have I found any intersecting noodles yet? No, I don't think the noodles would ever intersect with how the noise works. This is basically why I was wondering the benefit of having two worlds, one for gameplay and one for simulation, and the simulation just be data. You're wondering why I'm doing that? If that's the question, then I mean, I have 6 gigs, 6 gigs of memory used right now on just this. And of course, a lot of that's just, you know, in editor stuff, so it'd be better in standalone, but I can't fit the whole world rendered into memory. Oh, you mean that's the right move. I gotcha. Yeah, it just, you know, it makes things difficult because you have to think about like, yeah, what if this shit isn't actually here? And I just have to like query or look up serialized data. I actually pondered, I guess I still am pondering whether or not I could use, especially for the PCG data, because that's very, like there's types to that data. There's food, there's trees, there's mineable things, there's forageable things, and they're all tagged with that data. I was wondering, maybe I should just put that into a SQL database, you know, like a little SQLite or something, instead of doing binary serialization. Because I essentially just have to either load all the points from a save file, and like right now I have them, essentially my save files are my database partitions, and it's starting to feel really messy because I have my save files split up by like what the points represent. Like, is it food? Is it something choppable? Is it something mineable? And then I store that per chunk, or per it was per PCG grid. And that's starting to feel quite messy. And so I feel like maybe storing that in a SQLite format would be easier to look up. And I don't know what the trade-off is there. Like, is that a little slower to read and write? I don't know. Transactions would be nice to have. Having a transactional guarantee would be nice, but would that be a little bit slower? Can I, you know, everything's happening async, is that okay? You know? And it would help with, I'm kind of leaning, I'm kind of talking myself into it now, actually. Because then you could handle, so right now I have to like manually manage, like if I've read, like if two NPCs request the same data, before the data is read into memory. Like, I have to wait on it and shit. Like, it's getting really complicated. And it's all the NPC queries are based off of like the colonist tasks, which right now there's only a couple, but like it's like right now I have the colonists, they can run around in the world and search for food that is spawned by PCG, whether or not PCG is actually rendered, which is pretty cool. But so it's like storing like grass data and tree data, and right now just mushrooms, but there'll be other things as well, into different save files, and those save files are tagged with like what they are, or what resource types they are. So like if I was to say give me all the nearby food items for this colonist to go to, you know, it would query that it'd be like, for this PCG grid, give me your save files, give me the food ones, load all the food ones, you know, figure out which points are closest and return those. And then I actually remove from that set as well whenever the NPC like picks it in memory, and then write it back. But I all that to say, I think SQL would actually be fucking nice for that. And like I know how to, like, that makes a lot more sense to me than binary serialization. Like that took so much for my head to get wrapped around, and I'm used to doing SQL, right? Being a developer for a fucking decade now. God damn, I'm old. A dummy, so I couldn't say. My impression never uses that databases are sloppy and inefficient. Well then, why do websites use it? Because websites don't have the same performance considerations as video games do. But how much more than reading from a binary file? And if I get an increased level of organization and transactional guarantees, is that worth it? Like, does that actually make it faster? Because now I'm reading, I can actually filter the data and I can do database queries to return the proper data, rather than having to return an entire save file and then search for the data, right? Like I could literally write a SQL query to be like, return me the nearest food point, the food spawn point that's spawned in the world, right? And like, you know, would that be more efficient than saying, hey, for this chunk, give me all the food spawn points? And guess what? If that chunk is out of food spawn points, I'm gonna have to query the next chunk, and I'm gonna have to read all that data. So like, I kind of feel like it would actually end up being a little more efficient, certainly in terms of development cost, or you know, just timing and stuff. And like, it's all happening on background threads anyway, so like, it doesn't need to be, I don't need it to be game thread fast, you know? I don't need it to be able to be read in a game thread frame. It can be read over the course of multiple frames. That's totally fine. Well, Unreal needs to validate each line from top to bottom when reading a database until it finds the thing. Wait, what do you mean? Even if I use like SQLite or something like that? Or are you talking about like data tables? Because in a database, I'd be able to index it and stuff like that. You know, partition it and index it, and then write a nice little where clause. Data tables. Yeah. I do get that about a data, but I mean that happens at that happens when you load the object, right? Like just into memory. And I certainly would not be using data tables for this. I think that would be I feel like that might be even worse than binary serialization. Bro, I mean, honestly, I'm actually talking myself into. See, I wish I knew someone. There's any chatters here who have used SQL with Unreal Engine, or know someone who has, please let me know. I would like to. I remember searching some information on it, and I mean, this is what MMOs use, right? Like, surely it's fine. Surely it's fine. But I would like to know some more information about it. I couldn't really find. I was searching for some information about it a while ago, and I couldn't really find anything. Also, maybe storing voxel data in there too. Maybe. Investors, probably you. Or what was the Step Brothers thing? Never mind. Deep cut. Yeah, read vertices from serialized voxels. Vertices tagged with what noise they came from. And I'll say if, big if world wakes, if world doesn't wake up until within generation radius, then we can rely on collision for PCG surface sampling. And then I guess I would want, like, I need to think about respawns, because I do kind of have that built in, right? Like, you want the trees to grow back and shit. But I guess that can, I would just update the data, right? Yeah, because yeah. No, we're good. We're good on respawns. I have that. I built that already. That'll work. Yeah, but you won't have the object in memory, but it's kind of beyond the point, I guess. It was me, and it's not, obviously. Pixel Shake, if there's anything you can be confident in, is that I value your advice, because the spline distance calculator was a nice suggestion. You've earned my trust from that. But I'd have each char, I assume you mean character, be a struct, and that struct have a flag for is active in world, and when it's not in the active world, it'd just be faking everything based on data. We'll still have any impact on the real world when it's loaded into the gameplay world. Yeah, so I already have like a whole ECS system built that'll handle that. I guess, and I plan for that to be in memory. And the entity data would just be serialized as a part of the save system, I think. I don't know if I would need to put the entity data into like SQL or something. But yeah, I have like the instance static mesh, vertex animated. I can actually maybe, we'll see if this still works. I've made some changes. Entity test. So this is me testing the PCG serialization and having entities interacting with it and moving around even though they're not rendered. So the entities are only actors when they get within a certain radius of me, which is a very small radius. So if they have an action bar above their head, and of course it doesn't work. Or does it? Nope, no it doesn't. What happened here? Marching cubes didn't execute properly. Oh, I still have the test thing in there. Okay, we can delete that. We can delete the test thing. That's what that was. And then when they're outside that actor radius, the actors change into instance static meshes. And then I have the skeletal mesh transformed into a static mesh, and it's vertex animated. And I have like 30 different animations baked into that baby already. And that's only going to get... And then I have it... I sample a blend space in C++. And I can determine the weights of which animations should be playing. And so it looks really good is what I'm trying to say. The vertex animated instance static mesh instances are very nice looking. It's actually kind of hard to tell the difference, which is kind of cool. But then if you're not looking in their direction, they despawn. Like the instances get removed and everything, so. But they're still moving around in memory. Like there's still pathfinding happening and a state tree ticking. And I'm just updating a piece of data for the entity transform. And then all those entity data fragments would be stored, would just be serialized up as a part of the save game system. Intend to just keep those in memory, but we'll see. To me, that would still be inactive world. Well, I guess I hope that would be my entire world then. Unless you're just talking about after the player closes the game. Yeah, I hope for the entire world to be... I guess maybe the distinction is rendered world, like all of it's active. So the distinction is rendered world with collision versus unrendered world, no collision. And I already have my own like collision stuff written for the entity system because those, I can't rely on collision there either. Why is this taking so long? It's a nice bamboo forest, though. Yeah, let's delete that test mesh. That's going to cause an issue. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of town. Well, that's actually an instant static mesh. You wouldn't actually know it. And there we go. So now he's about to go, like, pick up that. There's some mushrooms there. I'm gonna eat that. And so, you know, turn away, turn back. Still there. And he would have removed that mushroom. He would have removed that mushroom as well if he wasn't rendered too. So, like, I'll prove it. Turn away. What? Oh no. Oh no, the frustum calling. Wait a second. Ah, it broke. He's not supposed to be rendered. You bastard. Does the distance? Oh, or am I just... Maybe he was still an actor. Okay, what? Okay, I guess I need another pass of the entity system. I broke it. I mean, it's still working, but, well, I wonder if there's something... What was this thing here? Maybe this is the issue. Add mapping context. Well, usually I can turn around and he's not there. Oh, now it worked. See, now he's not there. And so we'll watch for yeah, he's getting hungry, so that one should disappear now. Yep, there it goes. So he's eating it, and the sound still played. I need to change that. And there he is. So, and I know you've seen this pixel shake, but I'm just kind of showing off right now. I don't really feel like doing any development right now. I kind of just feel like talking conceptually. Oh, he's actually kind of fucking me up. Oh my god, my heels are broken. Oh, fuck. He got my ass. He got my ass. Look at him, showing no remorse. Stone cold killer, this one. Doesn't even have eyes. He's got half an eyeball. Mad lad. I can't wait to get to the point where, like, a la RimWorld, you know, they have, like, they're generated with, like, a little backstory. And they've got, like, body features and stuff. Like, you know, some people in RimWorld, like, they just get spawned with, like, an eye patch. Like, that's like, a crazy cool thing that I can pass into an LLM and factor into the personality of the colonists. So can't wait till I get to that kind of stuff. But I gotta get this world built out. This is, I think this is pretty foundational to the game. So I gotta get this world built out. I gotta get this PCG stuff figured out. Gotta get the nav mesh. Oh, I really hope the built-in nav mesh can suit my needs. We will see. Pray for me, though. I guess let's make a decision. I kind of want to, like, I don't want to do the SQLite thing. I assume SQLite would be the best choice. Okay, that's fine. See if I can find anything else on SQLite versus binary serialization. Unreal Engine. Using SQLite or a serialization library for a data format. I guess this is just generic C++, but it might still apply for Unreal Engine. Nice thing about using SQLite as a file format is that the library has solid file system paging write-ahead code. You don't need to worry about performance or file integrity. Repeated reads of the same data will pull from the in-memory cache. That's nice, actually, because that could be a very valid case for me. Like, there could be a lot of colonists querying, you know, because colonies are going to be, that is a very cacheable thing. I think that made me choose SQL. I think I'm going to do SQLite now. And a GUI browser? Oh, I love GUIs. But like, there's going to be colonies. So there's going to be hotspots of querying data. And if I have it indexed that way, that'll be very cacheable data. Can't recommend SQLite enough. Nice. Nice. I'm really just, I really want some numbers on the read-write performance difference, though. That's what I would like to see. Would strongly advise against hierarchical data format. Is SQLite is open source? Oh, there's a SQLite IDE, JetBrains. Ooh. SQLite is a free and open source. We love opens. We love that. We love that, guys, don't we? Not fucking MySQL. Or even worse, SQL Server. The horror. Web devs know what I'm talking about. Or backend devs, probably even more. Yeah, this wouldn't be for, I don't think I would be storing any pointers. I guess let me take a peek here at my PCG serialization. Forgot what I called my system here. This is not ain't it. This is what I serialize, I believe. Wait, do I even use this anymore? No, I don't. What did I call it? I don't even remember now. Environment item spawner. That was a part of it. Oh, did I write it in the did I write it in this thing? I don't remember now. Procedural terrain subsystem definitely has some code related to it, I remember. Yeah. Get desired PCG points. Get or load PCG saves. Oh god, I remember all this. This is just, it's nasty. I don't like it. It's messy. I have this LRU cache that I could completely get rid of, which would be really nice. And you know me, I'm a little slut for deleting code, so. PCG save container. That's what I was looking for. Okay, that was just in the environment item spawner. Okay. Okay, so here's the data I would be saving for PCG. And the data that I would be most querying. So I guess I do have a pointer here. And I am just, ooh, yeah, I am relying, I think I am relying on the built-in serialization for this. Save. Yeah, I'm just calling the serialize function shit. Okay, so I'm gonna need to kind of, not reverse engineer, copy what's in here and make sure that goes into SQL properly. Yeah, this is this would be a downside. Now the rest of this is just structs. Which do I, what built-in serialization am I relying on here? Yes. Point. Oh, the FPCG point I'm serializing as well. How bad is that? Oh, that doesn't seem too bad. Yeah, that one doesn't seem too bad. I think the pointer I'm more scared of. I guess I would need to handle, like, you know, spawning a new pointer to a new object and wiring that back up. Which I'm now remembering that using the built-in serialization methods for some of this stuff was crucial for me. For getting this working. The point, am I serializing the point data? No, just the metadata and the points. Okay, so I'm not actually doing any serialization of this point data pointer itself. Just metadata and the point. Okay, so we only have two methods that we would need to kind of pick apart. This one looks, yeah, see, and we're getting into nested serializations. I guess this is only a few fields, right? Only a few fields. I just know it's going to be a pain to get this working because, like, I'm going to forget to like put one in there. I'm gonna have to create a schema for. I wonder if I could, like, could I just create a dump, create a blob for this data? The points. That's kind of the data that I need in a columnar format. The metadata, oh no, I need the metadata in that format too, because that's what has the attributes. I'm just now thinking that I'm gonna have to create like schemas for this shit, which is gonna be kind of annoying. The item desk, I'm already manually serializing that, so not a huge deal to just copy these columns over. Although I'm serializing a data table pointer, but I guess, like, that's just an in-memory thing, so, like, serializing that shouldn't be too bad. Right, what is the default object pointer? It's probably just, like, the class name. I mean, for a data table, that's all I would need is the class name. I can just look that up. Row name, that's a name. Weight, that's a number. Boolean. Relative threshold, that's also a number. Index, transform. Transform would be kind of annoying to... Transform. And I have to create a schema for X, Y, and Z, like location, rotation, scale. Or should maybe that's just a, you know, that's just a JSON object or like a blob. Well, no, I think I would want the location at the very least in the columnar format. Could you do like a what would a query for like give me the closest points look like in SQL? You'd have to write the distance formula into SQL. maybe there's a built-in distance formula. Hang on. SQLite distance formula. How slow is that? Maybe I just return, you know, a bunch of points and then do it on the memory on the CPU. SQLite query for calculating distance. Everyone's saying don't do it in the query. No, it would be kind of a gnarly query, wouldn't it? But I mean, wouldn't you just like... What I fucking forget what the distance formula is. You can like square and square roots, right? Square root of you know, x, you know, x squared. Yeah, x1. Yeah. That looks familiar. Yeah, I mean, you could write that. You could write that in SQL. You can square root in SQL, right? Shocker that I've never actually written a SQL statement with a square root in it when doing fucking business analytics, business metrics. Yeah. Is that expensive on a in a database query? I don't really say anything about it. Okay, yeah, let's get back on track. I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick, but then I'm gonna keep looking into like I want to find like a performance trade-off, and then maybe I can search for like if there's a built-in plugin or not. BRB. Okay. Maybe we can get, maybe, how much time do I have here? Maybe another couple hours. We'll see how tired I get. I'm constrained by sleepiness this evening. So maybe we can get something SQLite going this stream. Let me just search Unreal Engine SQLite plugin. Oh, are we built in? Hang on, let me just look right here. Oh, look at that. It's already on. What is support? What is... Why would I have SQLite but not SQLite support? Hmm? Gameplay data driven. Okay, what is this? Of course, there's so... Watch, there's some built-in thing. Watch. What is data-driven gameplay element? All right, new Unreal Engine system time. Okay. Data-driven gameplay provides you with an interface to visualize and parameterize data creation and progression. You can move data to Excel or other spreadsheet documents. They can be I don't know that I want to maintain this in an Excel sheet. Data tables and curve tables can be imported. Yeah, I know about that. Oh, is that just what we're talking about? Just data tables? Wait, yeah, what is the answer to this? Okay, I need someone to tell me. I need to find like a Reddit post or a Stack Overflow post telling me whether or not it's a... for Unreal Engine. $10 years ago. Okay, yeah, maybe that's not relevant. Here's another SQL plugin, SQLite plugin. Relatively recent update. This is a 2024. A powerful database that can handle thousands of operations per second. My game reads from a SQLite database with 500,000 rows multiple times every tick at 60 FPS with no problem. Okay. So I do have to create I have to manually create a database and drop it in the file system. And then make sure it gets packaged, okay. Okay. That is good to know. Maybe I'll follow this tutorial, we'll see. I guess if I ever do get to the point of like online multiplayer, having, you know, transactions, a transactional database would be really nice for like trading and stuff, you know, for whatever kind of that happens. C++ class to interface with the database. What does that look like? It's just a plain class. Cool. Not even a U class. Oh boy, here I go rewriting systems again. Yeah, look, I'm just reading this code. Yeah. Connection string. Oh, do we need to set up like connection pooling and shit too? A long time since I've set up a database. We are using prepared statements. Nice. We love that. No SQL injection. Not that that would ever fucking happen. I suppose, I mean, a user could enter their name and I could query by name. So there could be some wonkiness there. Create, yeah, easy enough. Yeah, I suppose from here on out, it's pretty much similar to how, you know, what I would have worked with any other database in any other language. He's explicitly destroying the statement. Oh, okay. Important to destroy prepared statements first, otherwise the database will not close properly. Okay, that is important to know. Is there... Let me guess, there's no documentation for the built-in plugin. I'm just going to go out on a whim and assume that. Knowing Unreal Engine. I'm judging by the sheer number of third party or like, you know, GitHub SQLite Unreal Engine plugins. I'm gonna guess there's no documentation. I dare you to prove me wrong. What is this? Yeah, just an API reference that is absolutely meaningless. Yeah, I mean this, let me bookmark this just in case I don't get to it. That seems promising. Nice. If I could like this, I would. Seems easy enough. Now, Unreal Engine SQLite. I'm looking for reasons to not use this now. I am leaning towards using it. Years ago. SQLite in Unreal Engine 4, 2014. That's an Android question. Best way to implement SQLite. I mean, I guess I've seen multiple people now just say they use data tables. And I guess the reason, like, I don't want to do that, I mean, because I guess you wouldn't necessarily need to load them all into memory, right? They could just exist as, what would you just use, like a soft object pointer or something, and then they wouldn't load until you needed them to? And then, you know, set them to null pointer when you're done with them or something? Something like that? Soft class pointer, maybe? I'm sure there's some way to prevent a data table from loading into memory and just existing on the disk, right? But then it's like, how do you query that data table? Like, you have to load the whole thing into memory. You have to iterate over and to do that, I mean, I think what Pixel Shake was saying was that it loads all of it into memory. And you don't have the indexing, the partitioning, the querying power that you have with SQLite or some other SQL solution. You do, however, have a ease of use for the values in it, right? So you don't really have to. I guess you would still need a struct for it, though. You'd still have to create a schema. That schema just wouldn't live in a database. It would live in a struct. I mean, yeah, to do the types of queries that I would need to do, you would, yeah, I mean, you'd have to iterate over it, right? You have to iterate over it. This is circa 2017, so I don't know, maybe it's better now, but this guy's saying issues like packaging the DB, saving at runtime, etc. are a pain. This made it seem very easy, though. Like, yeah, make sure you close the connection. Maybe he means a pain in, like, figuring it out, and now that this guy, you know, it's been figured out, it's easier now. I'm attempting a 10 million row T array right now. Will increase if successful. He never responded. It never got done. It said 5. He said 5 seconds. 100 million resulted in 15-second load time. And that's for like downloading a CSV over the internet. This guy, I built an attribute/inventory system which uses SQLite as a cache running on Unreal Server, and then later sync with an MS server through an external C# server application. Why does that sound like the most unnecessary Rube Goldberg machine of storage? Like, you could get rid of half of that. Okay, so he's answering that. Why? He's answering the why. This way, it's possible for a game to have many instances of a server running. A player can connect to any of these instances, load and save data from SQLite in real time, and still have all their data saved to a final Microsoft server, MS server, database from any of the SQLite databases, from any of the server instances running while accurate diffing which attributes are kept from which server based on dates timestamps. Okay, this guy's doing like, what? Is he making like an MMO? Like, is that what I'm reading now? I guess he's just using SQLite as a cache, which why wouldn't you just use memory? I guess it's cheaper than memory, and if he doesn't need the speed of memory, that's why. Okay, I'm actually kind of understanding why he would do that now. And he's using Microsoft Server just because he wants something beefier than SQLite, I suppose. Why are there so many marketplace plugins for SQLite? It's $50. Like, when there's a built-in one that seems very simple and straightforward. Like, what? It's just not like what Blueprint native. So like this guy, like people try to sell plugins of like a Blueprint interface for that for $50. Okay, I'm calling it. I'm gonna fucking do it. Watch me. I will fail on my own. Let me read one last one. Did you download and place the amalgamation? I mean, that's what, where was that step? just says drop the database into that folder. I guess I don't remember if I worked with SQLite before. I feel like I have at some point. I don't remember anything about it. Bro, this guy built a SQL Explorer, like, in fucking Unreal Engine. That's funny. Why would you need that? I feel like that's already built outside of the engine. Like, I guess he maybe... Huh. That's wild. Yeah, this guy successfully wrote serialization for T-sets, T-maps, float curves, object pointers, and T-array of object pointers. It just took him 1,500 lines of code. Yeah, I know that pain. Oh, he's talking about with the database? For reading, writing, yeah, I mean, I guess for like some of the Unreal Engine primitive types, would you have to, what would the I mean, if you wanted those, like, to be readable in SQL and, like, you know, where clausable and stuff, I suppose you need to store it either in its own schema, or, you know, maybe you have a table for just vectors, you know, just foreign key to the vector table. Or you just store it as JSON, maybe it would be easier. Or maybe just as a string, honestly. X equals blah, Y equals blah, Z equals blah. I feel like JSON would probably be the best bet there if you wanted to use it in SQL. If you didn't need to use it in SQL, then yeah, I would maybe just store those as the binary data in SQL. Like, I think that's what this guy was saying. He said it took him 1,500 lines of code for that, though. Okay. Maybe that's what all those plugins were about then. They were converting Unreal Engine, like, primitives. Okay, yeah, let's do it. So let's download SQLite. I think it's probably step 1, download. What do I want here? Source code. Recompiled binaries. Yeah, I guess let's just get the binaries. Command line tools. I don't know what I need actually. Where's their quick start? Is this the quick start? I mean, it's getting started. I just want the GUI though. I don't want to mess around with a yucky command line. Command lines are yucky, am I right? Yeah, I guess that's what we got. That is like the the most bare minimum. Oh, here we go. A WASM build is the CLI that runs in your web browser. Okay, so maybe I can just do that. Will I fit? I probably need to like set up like the database name and shit first though. Okay, let's extract all. Sure, we'll just stick it in downloads for now. Where do I want this? Throw it, let's throw it on my game dev. It's... Oh, these are the, well, this is the binaries actually. We'll just throw it on my, not in the projects folder. This probably doesn't have like, oh, load DB. Oh, right, I need like, I guess you need like the, what was it, the amalgamation file. So yeah, I guess I should download. The command line tools. Okay, that's downloaded. I assume I need to add it to path. So SQLite or SQLite 3 and CLI. Okay. Yeah, let me, was it system, the system configuration? I kind of forget. Where, it's been so long since I've, no it's not. It was system information, right? Where are environment variables again? Can I just type that in? I have not done this kind of development on Windows in a long time. I'm a Linux boy at work. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so let me copy this fucking. Okay. Restart this. Does that work? No, it didn't. Is it SQLite 3? That's what the file name is. Okay, that's what it was. I have to SQLite 3. It'd be nice to set up an alias for that, but we'll, I don't know how to alias on Windows. Wait, where did that, yeah, pull that up. Banner message, probably enters. Use .open file name to reopen a persistent database. So I should have done SQLite 3, and let me actually change directories here. Content. What's in content? Oh shit, what is the fucking... What's the Windows equivalent of ls-a? List. Files. Free? I can't even type it right. I hate that Windows has command prompt and PowerShell. You know? NS lookup? Is that it? What is NS lookup? That sounds like a network thing. Yeah, it is. It literally is. Dir. It's just dir. I remember that. Dude, it's been so long. It's been so long. Okay. And then what is it? Is it make dir in Windows? Make dir databases. DD databases. Okay, we're here. Now I need to SQLite 3. And then it said just to enter the name after that. Optionally followed by the name of the file that holds a database. If it does not exist, a new one will be created. What's am I just putting everything in one database file, or what's here? Because I suppose I could have multiple database connections, or multiple databases connected to multiple databases. That's what I'm trying to say. So, do I care about storing those in different data? Mostly what I want this for is for the PCG environment. But then maybe also there's some use case for character data, like inventory data per chance. So that's like, maybe that's in the future. Maybe that seems like a pretty in the future thing. Do I just call this my project? How much of a pain is it to rename a database? It's probably just a file name. Okay, we're just gonna name it my project database. Are we in SQL now? What's like the database info table? Isn't there like an info table in most databases or something? Create table, table 1. Okay, so can I use this like, can I use this now? I load this database file. What? Do this not exist? I thought that was supposed to create a database file. There's nothing in this folder. I thought that was supposed to create it for me. Yeah, it said if it doesn't exist. Not help. What do we have here? List names and files of attached databases. Okay, so if I just do .databases. There it is. Now it just wrote it. I just saw it pop up. So you have to do like some operation on it for it to show up. Okay. Where was I? Load that bitch. Okay, now we're GUI City. What is this? I have no idea what I'm looking at. Wasn't there another, There's so many. Oh yeah, is this SQLite IDE free, I wonder? SQLite Studio.pl. Oh, that's a download. We'll stick with the one they link on the website. At least we know that's like proper. Well, I mean, this is just like all this does is a command line interface. I was kind of hoping for like a little, you know, create table kind of situation. Yeah, show me the SQLite schema. Oh. Okay. I'm now actually just curious if the JetBrains thing is free. Yeah, what's the pricing for okay, I don't want to buy this. I wonder, is there a SQLite plugin here? Maybe that's what I should be doing. Oh, okay. So I just have that built in. Is that just this thing? Database. New database. Connect to a database. Add data source manually. Oh, look at this. I should have started here. SQLite. File. Let's just open. Let's rename that .SQLite. Ah, yeah, let's close that. I should probably add that plugin. We'll restart that in a second. Try again. There we go. We renamed it, put it in there. Connect. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. There we go. Oh, this is gonna be great. SQLite master. Cool. And so, let's see what I got here. Query console. Oh, we can just write. Oh, sick. Sick. Okay. And we'll probably be able to create like probably some SQL files and just save them, and we'll have the syntax highlighting and stuff. That'll be great. What else we got here? Structure. Data sources. Refresh. What is this guy? Deactivate. Jump to query console. Edit data. My new table. There we go. Okay. New table. New column. This is I've never created a database in a JetBrains IDE, so this is all new for me. Now I need to go. Now I need to look at the code that I've written, the serialization code. So let's put that over here. What's the first thing that we should do? What's the first thing we should serialize here? Point data is at the top here. Yeah, so I guess just point data. And so I suppose I'll need yeah, I guess arrays are going to be kind of lame, aren't they? Yeah, the points. So I need like a point. I could probably store, because like in the, let's look at the PCG editor real quick. This is what I'm picturing in my head. Show me this is trees. Nice. Okay. Are you serious? Are you serious? You're not going to give me anything. Come on now. Yo, can I see some data, please? You're spawned. You're literally spawned. Okay, now it's going. There's my data. Okay. So this is kind of what I'm picturing for the points. And honestly, most of these I don't actually need. I'm not actually using. But like, I might as well make the full, schema. I guess attributes. Yeah, attributes are going to be kind of weird. Because that could be anything. Okay, so maybe I do need like a metadata specific table. And then we'll have to foreign key it together into like a save record table. And so these are saved by like I guess I'll end up doing chunk coordinate. And then the chunk coordinate will tie all this stuff together. Save slot name. Save slot name is what I put in. Yeah, because we have like. Let me look. So I have different save file names for each of these. Is that going to maintain? So I'm calling that stuff around trees. That is the stuff around trees. I'm calling this. And once I run the PCG graph, am I ever going to need to run it again? So I could just completely spawn it on my own. Now. And so how the flow of this worked before was that like this massive biome core plugin thing that I've kind of reworked a little bit. God, it's so complicated. It eventually like divides the world up into cells and it assigns a biome to each of those cells. I've wired in my world map to that. And then that kind of like figures out which PCG graphs it needs to run. And then that eventually gets in here. It gets to here. And so this will generate a bunch of points. And then it needs like output points from this, which I don't think I'm actually using for anything. And then it does a bunch more stuff. Like here's the generator, running the generator, which would be, again, there's like so much shit. I think that's this right here would be this subgraph, but it's all passed in by like attributes, so it's kind of hard to follow. But like if I'm not going to use that anymore, this environment item spawner, I kind of feel like just yeah, so this is my own node that I wrote, and I extended the existing spawner. And I guess having this would still be nice for testing. But I guess I could just disconnect them when I ship or something. Or when I run, when I'm not testing and developing this graph. But I still need something to output the point. Like I need something to output the point. So I guess maybe I'll keep this. But maybe I just don't maybe I just don't read. Or sorry, maybe I just don't write. Or no, I was right. Maybe I just don't read from the database here. I guess I'm just trying to think of the flow here from this perspective, because I've already gotten the flow working. And I suppose I do need to know what, like, pin this goes to. Like, what the data. So, like, when I'm creating this SQL record, I need to know what node that's for on the PCG graph. Yeah, and I need like a has generated boolean that just skips all this. Oh no, I remember now. I wanted to like potentially regenerate points. Okay. Okay, let's MVP here. we're just gonna pop out our serialization system and pop in the SQLite system, and we're just gonna have it work the same way. And that is going to take in a string for the safe name and whether or not to read or write the data. So the surface sampler is still going to run regardless of whether or not we have data, which it will need to be updated, but we'll figure that out later. Okay, so I guess the base data here is point data. What's all that spreadsheet BS at the bottom? That's the data. That's them daters. Welcome in, Turningcock. How you been, buddy? We're trying to set up SQLite, but this is PCG points essentially. So I'm going to need a SQL schema for this data here. I was trying to think of the flow of how this is going to read and write to the database from a PCG graph. That's pretty cool. PCG is pretty cool. It is pretty cool. Very powerful. And why do I need to write this to a SQLite database, you're asking? Ugh. A long story. This is for like all the resources that are going to be in my world that I need to be able to read, even though PCG... I need to know where these things are. I need to know where food is. Even when PCG it hasn't generated. And is cleaned up and doesn't even exist in the world, right? And so it's very it is data that is prime for columnar caching. So I think SQLite and query. I think SQLite will help me quite a bit here. So let's just create a point. We want are there IDs in here? Is that what real is? Dude, it's been so long since I've created a database from scratch. Auto increment real? What if I did integer? How do I mark it as a primary key? Or no, I would have to create the key? Primary key. Do I need a primary key? Yeah, because I'm gonna... Yeah. Okay. Bro, I'm going way back in my brain. It's been so long since I created a database schema. I have just been working in web dev world. So yeah, we want a primary key, and then we'd want a foreign key back to the original record too. What is this interface? I'm confused. Oh, I need to add the columns. What is real? Hang on. SQLite real. Is that what I think it is? A real is used to store floating point numbers. Okay. Okay. So we would just use an auto. What is int versus integer? Let me just look up primary key. If the table has a single column primary key and the declared type of that is integer, then the table... Wait. Do I want int or integer? That's all I need to know. Wait, what is the difference? SQLite int versus integer. Is it 32-bit to 64-bit? Yeah, what is the difference between int and integer? There we go. Oh, integer is a special case, and the data table does not create it. What is row, but reuses the row ID column instead? Oh, I see. It's like a built-in. So integer is more economic. What does Unreal store them as? And do you have to convert to store? Yeah, I will need to do some like serialization, or you know, I will need to do some data transformation. Not null, column name. This is going to be point ID. Oh, I don't even know what my table name, the point table. We'll say PCG point. Column name, point ID. There we go. So are you building it as a flexible dynamic library? I don't really know what I'm doing so far. I mean, my goal is basically like replace the serialization system that I have for PCG points, which is just doing binary serialization, which it got super fucking messy because like these PCG points, there's going to be a fucking lot, like millions. There's going to be millions of these points throughout the world, right? And right now I'm just storing them, like the only organization I have for them, for binary, is storing them in different save files. And so the save file is like literally, the name of the save file is like the fucking key that I have to look it up by. That's the level, that's the partition. And right now it's like, the PCG grid coordinate plus the graph name plus the string that I have to put on each one of these things, which is what how I interface with this system. I built this node. It's got this little save name. This is trees. This is the trees save file, and this data will have like some attributes on it for like what these points represent for resource types, right? So trees would be choppable, would be it's a gather type and resource type. So you shouldn't. Well, I do because I'm doing hard mode here because I need them offline. I need them when they're not. I can't store them all in memory. That's way too much to store in memory. And my world is going to be massive, and I need to be able to query them anywhere in the world, regardless of where the player is, even when PCG isn't rendered. So I tag this PCG data with gather types, like whether it can be chopped, whether it can be mined, foraged, gathered, and then I annotate it with like what the resource is. So like wood, stone, food, that kind of stuff. And so what I have to do now is I just have to load all the fucking save files. You know, like the Colonist AI works like, hey, if I'm hungry, I need to go find food in the world. But guess what? PCG is not necessarily going to be rendered, so I can't rely on collision traces, which is what you would normally do. Or you just turn the motherfucker off when the player's not there. Can't do that for my game. So I need to be able to, what I'm doing now and what I have working is I load these save files into memory, and I have an LRU cache that keeps them in memory potentially. And I have to get the data sets with that are represented by food, you know, or you know, if he needs to go chop trees, I got to find the trees file. I got to look at those files, and I do serialize like what's stored in the files, but like it's just really fucking messy, right? And if I use SQLite, is what I was kind of talking through earlier, is like it's pretty ripe for querying, right? Like if I needed to, like if my colonist only has a I don't know, like let's say there are some resources that you can harvest, which you'd need a sickle for or a scythe or something, and then there are resources you can just gather with your hands, and the colonist is starving, so I need to query for the closest resource that he is capable of gathering. If he's got a sickle, that can be both, right? Harvestable and forageable. And then maybe there's also a skill element to it too, like maybe you need a certain skill level to pick a certain thing, you know. This is all like, and I need to like query the system and be like, get me the closest one, or you know, something like that. Give me all within a radius. And so that's all very ripe for a SQL query. And maybe I don't do the location stuff in SQL. Maybe I can just say, hey, give me all the points in this chunk. And then I just do the distance stuff in once it's all in memory. But then SQLite has a built-in cache as well. And so if I can partition it and index it a lot easier and organize the data and stuff, it just sounds better in my head. But the pain is I have to create like schemas and stuff and translate between the two worlds. But it makes a lot more sense to me than binary serialization. Like that took a bit for me to wrap my head around. Wait, what is this? Wait, why is there both? Bit confused here. Can you have multiple data types for a column? Probably just gonna be easier for me to use this now that I kind of understand it a little bit. Density next. And that's a real, right? That's floating point. Cool. Wait, do I not do commas, or I just need the next one? Bounds min. Okay, so now I have to figure out how the hell I'm going to store vectors. Do I store it probably as JSON string, right? Let me check if SQLite JSON. It's probably the best way for me to store the like Unreal primitive types. As a text of varchar character. Okay. And I guess I just have to know what these represent to know how to like parse them. This is above my skill. You never made a database before, my brother? My brother in Christ. Wait. Why did I get reset? Oh, this is a preview. I shouldn't be doing that. Okay. Okay. Default 0. Not in SQL. What else have you used? Oh, like a non-relational database, probably. Okay, bounds min text default expression JSON. Only Excel. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. Repeat after me. Turning cog. This is an important lesson. Excel is not a database. Okay, it's very important. It's very important that you understand that. As a developer who has dealt with people treating Excel like databases, that triggers me. And this is no longer a safe place for me. I worked at a company. Same company manufactured Agent Orange during the Vietnam War. Yep, used to work at that company. They have like decade-long molecular breeding pipelines, and I was writing apps within that pipeline. And we had certain workflows that would start with an Excel sheet upload, because breeders just fucking, that's where they have their data. And my god, the number of errors and issues that caused, like the integer rounding and float rounding, oh my god, dude, oh my god, the number of workflows that failed because of that. It was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. Another text. I mean, do I care about that's valid JSON, right? Do I care about this? Do I care about having default values for JSON? I don't know. We'll just no default value. Yeah. Color. Okay, yeah, I might as well make this a generic, just in case I need these things. Color is an F color. That's going to be a JSON as well. Just make them all JSON. You might care later. Yeah, and then I'll change it then. Steepness. I don't know what steepness actually represents in PCG. It can be 0. Let me actually look real quick here. Steepness, oh, it's 0.5. Is that the default? It is. Okay, steepness default 0.5. Seed. Can each point have a seed? I guess so. I guess so. Okay. And is that an integer? Wait, I've already forgotten the difference between int and integer. Okay, why didn't it yeah, that is a bizarre, I'll agree with that person. That is a bizarre stipulation. The best thing I'd recommend you do is temporarily forget everything you used to know about database data types. Everything internally is stored as text. Well, I guess because it's just writing to a single file. That makes sense? Maybe? Storage classes. So it automatically stores with the proper number of bytes. That's actually kind of nice. So what it was int? Is Ryder just kind of gaslighting me here a little bit? Default value 0. Let's make all the number ones not null. Let's make color empty string. We'll make them all not null. Empty string. Density not null, default expression 0. Okay. Metadata entry. That's an important one. Ooh, that is going to be the index. And I'm going to need to, because I don't know that I'll necessarily have these stored at the right index. Okay. Not null, default -1. What else do we have in a point? That's it, I think. Metadata. Oh, yeah, of course we don't have transform, like the most important one. Which I suppose we will also make a JSON. Serialize mask. Don't know what that is. I don't know that I need that. Okay, I think that's good. That's our point database. And can I update the table afterwards? Wait. Auto increment is only allowed on an integer primary. Why did that change to text? I didn't want that. Quick real take. Okay. Okay, and I can I edit? Modify table. Nice. Okay. Okay. So now I need like a... I think I need... I don't know, maybe I won't need the metadata entry. I forget if the flatten method does that for me. Flatten. Do we reassign metadata keys here? Set value from key. Attribute, entry key, none entries. So yeah, they're just keyed off their index, and I guess I can't really rely on their index, so I'll need to save the index separately. But I thought the flatten was doing something. I thought the flatten would like yeah, no, I remember this now. It reassigns indices. We'll need to keep that in mind. We'll need to see what happens when we actually get there. So now we need a metadata table. I do declare that we need a metadata table. We'll just assume that we need an ID here. Does that matter? No, probably not. Okay. You can just store an index, huh? Or no, that's something. Yeah. Of course you can. That's what databases are for. I think an index is in like array index. Okay, so now we get to figure out what the hell is serialized in the metadata class. So this is probably the more complicated one. I'm wondering actually, we want the metadata table, but we may also, we probably want like a, are there enums in SQLite? There are no enums. So you got to create that table yourself. Okay. Okay. So I will just store strings. Because I have my own custom attributes that are meaningful to me, then there are also attributes that may be used by the PCG system. So I will need to store the attributes both generically, and I think I would want to store them in my own format because I do need the gather type and resource type, like specially, right? And I don't want to have to go searching through this yucky generic metadata table for them. So yeah, I think we do need a metadata name, attribute name, not null, empty string. And then they have an attribute type ID. And a metadata attribute. Oh man, I hate this so much. Entry to value key. Oh yeah, I know how they store this. Yeah. It's all coming back to me. So if I were to match this structure that they're using, I would need a separate attribute table to store the attributes and their potential values, which, oh my god, that's like so tedious. So I may just like, let's just blob put the attribute in here. Hopefully that'll work. I think that would be fine. But how do they get like the type out of here? What is attribute ID? PCG metadata attribute key. It's just an int32. So wait, how do they like save the type? Am I dumb? The name and get type ID. Oh, I see. Okay, so I get what type ID is now. And then value, serialize. Where's the actual value of this? Where's the actual value of it serialized? I mean, this is the metadata FPCG metadata attribute base. Look at what you have to do for just a generic type in an Unreal Engine. This one might just be a binary blob. Yeah, we'll just maybe throw that in the binary as binary and serialize it back in like that. I think that might be easier. And then I'll just like manually pick out the ones I care about and store them. So there's the name. There's the type. And then it does this value serialize, which I don't even understand. Entry to key value map. Wait, why is it taking me here? I have no idea where that's trying to take me. Here. I mean, I suppose the value for this has like a serialization going somewhere. Wait, where's this type defined at? Writer does not know where this type is at. Do these types just not exist? How crazy! I cannot find where those are defined at. Where's like the type def? Hello? Or type name? Nothing. What is this Unreal reflection system that I am unwise in the ways in? That's crazy. I have no idea. Okay, so there ends my quest for how the hell that's serialized. Okay. Thank you for that. That was very, very not helpful. It says it's assigned in Int32. But again, that gives me nothing as to like where the values are actually serialized at. Oh, it is getting to sleepy time. Okay, so let's assume that we're just gonna get that text serialized properly. And we're just going to put the, maybe we just put the whole thing in a single field. The metadata. Let's just assume that. We'll leave that one as it is. Maybe the table name we can actually name metadata. New table. Now we need the ones I care about. The resource table. And this is going, its primary key is going to be, well, it should really be a foreign key. To the PCG point table. Wait, I've forgotten. Oh yeah, I have to like align the table names or the column names. For what, like what point this resource entry belongs to. Maybe call this one like resource point ID. Just to not get it confused. Yeah, there we go. Another column for... and I guess these are just going to be text. Right, it's going to be a comma separated list. Are there I hope there's CSV. I hope there's CSV. I mean, I'm sure there's some string ag, you know, functions built in. Resource types, gather types. These are the ones I care about. We're going to store those as special. Text, yep. Okay. And I guess actually, no, this wouldn't be an array. Because I could just have multiple rows with the same resource point. Still text though, still text. Just they won't be comma separated values in there. But really, but then that would mean that this should be more like a, there should be a resource table and a gather table. Because then one of these is just going to be null. Yeah, let's make them comma separated. Flatter data, that's fine. Because I mean, the queries I'm going to want to do are going to be like, give me all the points from a certain chunk where, you know, gather types contains food and resource type, or gather types contains forage and resource types contains food. And so that's a pretty easy string operation, right? It's a pretty quick string operation, I think. Which would mean this would need to be unique. Can I make it unique? Or do I do new unique key? Wait. Resource PK. Yeah, I just need resource point ID to be unique. So I think that's okay. Oh, it's not a primary key, just unique. Wait, what does primary key mean though? What's the difference between a unique key and a primary key? Unique key is just a constraint. Primary key is like... What is the difference actually? You can choose one or more fields to be a primary key, but a single field doesn't have to be unique. Oh, right, because unique can go across fields or something, right? It's a primary key and a foreign key to the same column. I guess that makes sense. Okay, I think that's good for just like our starter tables. I think that's probably gonna do it for me for the day. I'm getting kind of sleepy and I need to get some food before we hop off. Is anyone streaming? Let's check out, see, is there any new people? Oh, I totally don't know how to use the raid thingy.
So 20 is actually kind of high.
Oh, Pixel Shake's in here. Okay, we'll send you guys over here. Pixel Shake is vouched. Okay, I'll see everyone later. Thanks everyone for stopping by. I don't know when I'll stream next. I think tomorrow's going to be a little busy for me. So,